I am a survivor of trauma and abuse, but I didn't only survive, I thrived. And I thought that was normal. And so as I went into adulthood, I found that I didn't have a personality because I was always told who and how and when to be. I felt like I was in this holding pattern of not being able to change things about myself that were, not serving me. They were getting in the way. They were walls that were in front of me that I felt like I couldn't get past, but I couldn't figure out where these walls came from or why I couldn't knock them down. I'm like, this is 30 years of trauma. How is 3 months going to, and all three of them were the same thing. They're like, just repair it yourself. I became very suicidal and I had a plan in place and I had a date and I had letters written to people that were addressed and on the counter and stamped and hoped that whoever found me would put them in the mail. 3 hours later, I was curled up in the fetal position on my couch, just sobbing. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I'm carrying a lot of stuff that I don't have to carry. There's another way to go about this. And maybe it seems woo woo, but who cares if it works? We found out 9 months later that we were actually distant cousins, like just from the most random thing. And I'm like, okay, there's something in play here where this needed to happen. And after 9 months, we had peeled back so much that memories of the first 10 years of my life of being sexually molested by my father that I had repressed at 10 years old came back. And I'll tell you, the first event that I spoke at was at a conference in January in front of about 250 people. And I had four women come up to me in the day and a half after that and just throw their arms around me, bawling, and say, I've never met anybody who's had a childhood like mine. My goal in this world is to help people know that they are not alone, that they don't have to keep carrying this, and that there is that thriving that you can get to on the other side of it.
I found my silence at the bottom of a bottle. It wasn't even healing. It was just, it silenced my
Yep.
thoughts. And so many of us think that we are suffering in silence and alone, and that nobody, not one person on this earth of 8 point how many billion people will understand. Our silence perpetuates our trauma. There is so much healing that happens by being honest about our stories. Reinvention, right? Being able to drop the identity that kept us safe, that allowed us to survive, but then pick up an identity that empowers us, that allows us to take radical ownership of our lives. Until you are able to adapt a new identity, you don't recognize how much of your life you are giving away. 95% of our thoughts are recycled from yesterday. 50% of our thoughts are lies. Understanding of the direct correlation between thoughts, feelings, emotions, and actions. I had no clue about that previously. That was so powerful for me to learn because it then allowed me to check myself. And I would check myself very openly and publicly. I would be walking on the street saying, "No, girl, we ain't going there today." It allows us to perpetuate the abuse that we experience over and over, because especially with emotional abuse, right? We can be emotionally abused for years. We then start believing, and this is how, let me just say this, a lot of people end up being physically abused because of the emotional abuse and how powerful it is.
So it's a constant thing. I mean, I'm part of a coaching group and we constantly talk about the mountain without a top. You're constantly working on it. How the nervous system would rather be familiar in a horrible situation than it would be uncomfortable or unaware or unfamiliar in a better situation.
Mhm. Out self-awareness, it's like being in an ocean, a dark, dark ocean in the middle of the night. You cannot see to the left, to the back, to the right, to the front. You see nothing, but you are traveling and you have no idea where you're going. Healing is this destination. Well, let me tell you something, boo. It is not that. Every level that you unlock as you heal, as you grow, as you evolve through radical ownership of your life, you will be presented with a new lesson.
Unconditional love for me was a thing that I didn't know was real. I
Hmm.
did not know love without conditions for 46 years. And once I learned that that helps me giving that, extending that to other people, that's where the coaching comes in. Because I'm like, you're not too broke. I thought I was broken. You're not too broken to be loved. You are not too broken to be loved, and we can get through this together. And I will be here and I will hold your hand.
Seek community in the places that broke us. And we can't heal in those spaces. What it takes is you taking that first step, you being willing to take ownership, you being willing to put on the elbow grease and put in the work. But once you do, that community creates itself around you and it supports you.
And when
Hmm.
you start taking that step and you open yourself up to something different than you've ever known, you start getting different people in your life and you attract those and than you've ever known. And it's
Hmm.
such a beautiful thing.
There,
It is terrifying sometimes to be able to step forward and share some of the things we've been through with people. Do it scared. Do it anxiously. Do it. Just do it, but do it scared. Because
do
every
it
time it's going
scared.
to be a little bit easier and a little bit easier until that fear is gone.